Welcome to Bump Set Chat, the podcast where volleyball professionals come on and share their stories, experiences, and advice. And today, from Atlanta Love, I've got Madi Bugg. Welcome.
Thanks.
So happy you're able to come on and going to share your story. The way we start things off is to do a few random questions. So are you ready?
Yeah.
In your European playing days, when you came back home, what meal did you look forward to the most?
Honestly, like a diner.
Okay, yeah.
A greasy diner situation. They don't have that in Europe.
So you get the menu. The menu has like 40 pages and it has everything under the sun.
Yes. Yeah. And like sometimes when you have like a big party the next day, like the best thing in the world is a greasy diner, like brunch.
Yep.
And a baguette or like a croissant just does not hit the same.
You need some level of grease.
You need to you got to get something substantial in your stomach. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So now if they played intro songs for players at the start of the match, what would your song be?
We kind of did this with Love this year, but I think they didn't end up using the songs, but I did, because I'm in Atlanta, I did Yeah by Usher.
Okay.
And then I did Back in Black.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. And now, if you could go back and reread one of the Harry Potter books for the first time, which book would you do?
I don't know, man. They're all so good. I've read them like 7 times. I think I would read the last one.
Yeah.
For the first time again. Because that was like the most hard hitting because you've just been waiting for it forever.
Right.
And there's some like big twists and turns in there. That have been like building throughout this series that were just like mind-blowing and so cool. That was such a fun series for me because I like was growing up as they were coming out.
Yeah.
And like I kind of grew with the subject matter. And yeah, that was I loved reading all those books. But still when I like reread them every once in a while, it's like reading them again for the first time, even though you know what's coming, like you'll notice something different every time. And
now, did you ever do the audiobook of them with Stephen Fry?
No, Molly did the audiobook though.
Yeah.
She's big on the audiobook. I fall asleep whenever I listen to audio.
I'm with you there on the, as you like you were saying, you grew up with each year the book came out. So my oldest child, she got into them. They were all out at the time. So she was like maybe 10.
Okay.
And we had to slow her down because it got dark.
It gets dark.
Yeah.
It gets really dark. Yeah.
So she's like, Dad, come on, let me read. It's like, no, you can't read that yet. So
yeah. My sister was the same because my sister is 24 now.
Yeah.
So she's about the same age as your daughter. And my parents wouldn't let her watch the movies as they came out. She had to wait.
Yeah. And we had a rule.
She watched Chamber of Secrets too early, and the big basilisk really scared her.
All right, well, let's jump into some volleyball stuff. How's the first season of Love going?
Pretty good for us, and we had some big battles with Houston recently, but it's been super fun, and I've been like very impressed with the level of play.
Yeah,
like it's the first year, so there's like a lot of stuff to iron out and like get used to. It's weird to be in the US, but like also very cool. But yeah, it's been like a journey, and it's been such a short season, but I feel like so much has happened even in this short season that it still feels like I was worried that it wouldn't feel like substantial enough after playing like 9 months every year. And it's like, it's a lot also because we've been doing the double headers because it's been like significant amounts of travel.
Yeah.
And I'm tired. It feels like I'm playing a whole season, Yeah,
because over in Europe, you're the women start in the fall, correct?
Yeah. Men and women have the same season. So you start like, depends on the year, but typically like mid-August to late August. And then you start preseason, and then normally the league will start end of October-ish.
Yeah.
And then if you're lucky and you make it to the finals, you're usually like end of April, beginning of May.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then you get a few months to recover and you're back at it again.
Yeah. It's just like long enough that you forget how long it was, and then you start again.
And now typically with, those European leagues, are you seeing contracts that are like, 2 or 3 years, or a lot of them are just like 1-year contracts?
I've signed 1-year contracts.
Yeah.
just I've moved teams a lot, and I think whenever you move somewhere new, it's better to sign a 1 year just because you don't know exactly how you're going to gel. If you've already played for that team
Yeah.
and they're offering you a 2 year, I think that's a different situation. Um, Also, if you are making a lot of money, I think that's a different situation.
Yeah.
Um, but I was not signing 2 year contracts,
Yeah.
and I think that that was wise also because I was like hoping to like make a step every year.
All right, we'll jump more into that later, but let's start off where are you from originally?
I was born in Plano, Texas, and then lived there for 6 years, and then my family moved to Utah for 4 years, then New Hampshire for 2 years, and then North Carolina
Oh,
for
wow.
seventh, eighth grade, and all of high school. And then I went to Stanford, and then started my European
Wow.
journey.
And when did you start playing volleyball?
On a team like when I was 10, but my parents ran a club in Dallas, and my mom's always coached. She's coached high school club. I think she was a grad assistant for Tennessee, I want to say. She played at Tennessee, so I think it's
Oh,
Tennessee.
wow. That's
It is. It definitely is. Um, so she's coached every level. My dad like has 8 siblings and grew up playing every sport, but definitely loved like grass and beach, and that's
yeah.
actually how they met. So I was just like surrounded by volleyball all the time growing up,
Yeah.
and played other sports, but I kind of always knew it was going to be volleyball.
And what is the hook volleyball has on you? Like, that started way back then and turned into a professional
Yeah.
career.
Um, like honestly, I was just better at it than most other sports,
Yeah,
and it's fun when you're good at something.
it is.
I loved the tournaments and like going, getting to stay in the hotel with my teammates, and I loved like the chaos of the convention center. I can understand as an adult going back, it's a lot to take in, but
Yeah.
like as a kid, you're like, this is so fun. Um, and yeah, just like I loved my teammates and I had so much fun and just wanted to play all day long
Yeah.
as much as possible.
Nice. And now, in the Carolinas, where did volleyball rank as, compared to other sports? Is it like sort of
Mm.
soccer's the main sport, then volleyball for girls?
I think there's definitely a lot of soccer. I think basketball's up there because we have Duke, UNC, and NC State. That was where I grew up in the Triangle.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think basketball is definitely up there. But volleyball was definitely growing. Like my club that I played at, Triangle, was like growing as I was,
Yeah.
and outgrew their facility and tried to expand within like the warehouse that they were already in, and then ended up actually building a different gym altogether. But I wasn't there when that happened.
Yeah.
Now they have like I think they have like 10 courts, and it's like a brand new, beautiful
Oh, wow.
facility. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now, how important was, your club play to get you to the level, to get you, sort of spotted and, get recruited?
I mean, it was the only thing. Like, I remember like when college coaches started coming, like, and they stand around the court and they like wear their sweatshirt and you can like see the logo or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, and you can like see the crowd like forming, and then like everybody's like, well, what are those coaches watching? Who are they watching on this court? Um, and that was exciting, but also like very nerve-wracking.
Hmm.
Um, but that, yeah, I mean, it kind of like I knew what was happening in recruiting, but I also like am glad that I didn't know more
Yeah.
and wasn't like too overwhelmed by it too early on. It was just like more of a fun thing.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I mean, club was everything, and like traveling to different tournaments and like having more and more opportunities to be seen was a huge deal. And then like starting to work with or starting to go to the USA like high performance stuff.
Yeah.
I don't really think much recruiting happened there. Like I don't remember college coaches really being there. They may
Yeah.
have been, but I was like definitely more concerned about my friends and the volleyball. But like being able to have that on your resume for sure, like
That's huge.
meant something.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, the college recruiting process is really crazy.
And that's where we're going to get into next. What
Okay.
was, how did you end up at Stanford? What made you pick them, and what was that whole process like?
I so I went to when my family lived in New Hampshire, my mom was coaching the local high school team and she took us to a preseason game where they played Boston College or
Yeah.
Boston University, I don't remember. And Stanford won. And so then I therefore started saying that I wanted to go play at Stanford. But I was 11. I had like no idea what college was. But everybody seemed very impressed whenever
Hmm.
I would say that. And so I started saying it all the time. And then, um, yeah, as I like got older, I was like, oh, this might be very difficult. But yeah, I was always like a good kid and like did well in school and worked really hard. And then it happened. It just like it felt like fate kind of because it just like happened that they were good at volleyball, good
Yeah.
at school. It was in California, um, and then I visited and I had visited a couple other schools, but I visited and was like, oh, this is where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
Like this feels the best.
Nice.
Um, so I mean, it was stressful, but it was also like I never felt like I really had to make a choice. I was always like, if this is an option, I'm taking it.
Yeah. Nice.
So that part was easier for me than I remember some of my other like teammates in club just being like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And I
Yeah.
was like, I know what I want. I'm just scared I'm not going to get it.
And then when you got word that you got in, do you still remember getting the letter, or was it a
Oh,
call?
no, it was a call. I was in physics class, which I hated. I had a very nice teacher, but I was just hated physics. And she had written one of my recommendation letters, which is hilarious because I was bad at physics, but like we had a good relationship. But I got a call and I kind of was like, I knew that a call was coming soon.
Yeah.
And so I was like on alert. And I got a call from John Dunning. And I like went up to the front and was like, I think I need to take this. And she was like, go, go, go. And so I went into the hall and he told me, and John just like kept talking about nothing for the first like 10 minutes. And I was like, I'm going to explode. Like, please tell me something. And he was like, well, I think we're gonna have a good time together for the next 4 years. And like it's gonna be really fun to work together. And I was like, so I got in? Like yeah,
Nice. Oh,
very par for the course if you ever talk to John.
okay. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
had a few other people from Stanford. I have both of the Shoji brothers on, and I had
Oh
Justin
yeah.
Louis as well. A
Oh
fellow
cool.
Canadian that ended up going
Yeah.
there. Yeah, and overall, how would with volleyball being a fall sport, it's got to be a lot on a young person's shoulder. You're traveling across the country,
Yeah.
starting college. Volleyball is kicking off right away. What
Yeah.
was that first year like for you?
Like an absolute tornado. I had no idea what was going on, and it was probably better that way. Once again, a theme in my life. I'm starting to notice a pattern. But I like was just kind of chugging along and I wanted to play, but I kind of knew that I wasn't going to play because Carissa Cook was the starting setter the year before and she was a senior and she was really good. And so she started out playing in preseason and stuff. And I mean, I like wanted to play, but I was also like, okay.
Right.
And she ended up hurting her patella in preseason at Penn State. And so I had to play because I
Oh
was the
wow.
only setter. I hadn't blocked for all of preseason. I'd never played front row in preseason. And so then I'm suddenly like trying to block Deja McClendon. And we did not win, but we went to 5. And I remember like walking back to the locker room and being like, you didn't die. I was like, you survived and it kind of went okay.
Yeah.
And like it was supposed to be a close game and it was, so it was fine.
Oh
I mean,
my
like
lord.
people were really mad we lost, and I was like,
I
I was
survived.
like, I'm so happy. But then we ended up like winning a bunch of games in a row. And by the time that Carissa was healthy, it was like pretty far through the season.
Yeah.
And we had just like been able to find a rhythm and stuff. I had no idea what was going on. Like I was just playing.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that John knew that and just kind of let me go. And
Yeah.
they didn't try to like overcomplicate things. And I just had really good teammates that were really talented and could help me a lot.
Yeah.
We had 4 freshmen playing. It was me, Inky Ajanaku, Brittany Howard, and Jordan Burgess. And so like a lot of us didn't know what was going on.
Oh, wow.
So it was a lot of like, let's just do our best. Like, and it ended up like doing well. We lost to Michigan in the Sweet 16, I want to say.
Yeah.
But like I remember I went home after that season and I slept for 14 hours. And my mom was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "I'm having so much fun, but I am so tired."
Right. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
it was a
And
lot.
I bet it was, like, a lot like you were just talking about, you're coming into college and you're coming from club level of play. Now you're in the college level of play where you're probably used to starting on the club, being that star,
Yeah.
and now having, okay, knowing that, you're not going to be at that level. For some people, that's a big thing to get adjusted to.
Yeah, I for sure like struggled to like continuously play well. Like I noticed that in looking back, and like I would have a great game and then a terrible game,
Yeah.
and I just couldn't like maintain it. Um, but I think our coaches did a really good job of just like playing to our strengths.
Hmm.
And yeah, we had like really good middles and really good passing. So I basically just had to set the middle as much as possible.
Yeah.
And which was like what I like to do anyways. So it just like fit very well. Um, but in terms of like blocking at that level, defending at that level, I wasn't ready. I was
Yeah.
just doing my best.
Well, that's where I was going to ask next is like the speed of the game. What was the biggest adjustment from club to college? What is the speed of the game, the power, or sort of everything?
I think it was the biggest adjustment for me was becoming a full-time setter and like running an offense and learning how to build a game. And I was just talking about this with Matt yesterday of like developing enough as like your skills as a setter to be able to set what you want and not
Hmm.
what you can. And like constantly pushing to where you're like, I can set anywhere that I want from every spot on the court.
Yeah.
And then you can make choices instead of just like be
That's your only
pushed
option.
into. Yeah.
Right.
And I mean that continued, that's still continuing now. But like uh that was expanding a lot. And then for sure, like speed of the game, everybody talks about that. But I think the mental fortitude of like playing an entire match as a setter and like thinking as a setter, not just setting,
Right.
um, was one of the hardest things to do because it was just like this constant grind, like every single point. And it's different inside out than it is in break point. And yeah, setting is really hard.
Hmm.
And it's like there's so many growing pains through it. And I like look back at little me and I'm like, you just like flew by the seat of your pants. I was just like, yeah, I think I'll sit back. Why not? Our attacker over there is pretty good.
Yeah.
Like,
Uh, and looking back on your time there, what were some of the highlights for you?
oh, like so many. Um, we went to the final four. We got our butts kicked in the final four, but that was still really cool. Um, we've had some epic battles with Penn State, like every year. Um, what else? Um, we had so many like fun times together, like in the
Yeah.
locker room and road trips and just like being dumb college kids. And it
Right.
was just so fun. And Yeah, I just like look back and smile. Like I just loved it
Yeah.
so much. It was so fun. I like, yeah, the volleyball was a huge part of it, and we did really well. I think we won two Pac-12 championships, and like we like objectively had a really good 4 years,
Yeah.
but like it meant a lot more than like the wins and losses. I like grew up as a human.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot when I talk to a lot of the girls or a lot of players that, talk about their college years and what they miss most is that locker room. They say that's a time that you'll never live
Yeah.
that again.
Yeah. Pro has a lot of beautiful things about it, but there's nothing like your college team.
Yeah.
Like the camaraderie in it. I don't know if it's because you're young. I don't know if it's because there's money in it now, but like before there wasn't really like money.
Right.
Um, or if like it's less cutthroat because like you're not looking for the next contract the next year. Like
Right.
that's
Or
a
that
big,
person next to you is not looking to take your job essentially.
I mean, yeah, and I think like a lot of colleges, like the starting lineup's pretty set.
Yeah.
It's not like super common that, I mean, some schools, yeah, are having like honest competitions between players. It's not super common. Um, but yeah, there's just like this purity kind of
Yeah.
to it. And you're just so young and goofy and fun. And everybody's like, every day somebody does something hilarious, you know?
And now, if you could go back to, freshman Maddie, what
Mhm.
advice would you have for her?
Oh, uh, sleep more. Um, I would say like the FOMO doesn't have to be as strong, like
Mm-hmm.
you can relax. Um, what else would I say? Go to class more. I went to class most of the time, but like if it looked like it was gonna rain, I didn't go to class. Um, but I don't know, I liked like how I lived my
Yeah.
freshman year. I was like very green. I had never like I met my first atheist. I was like, oh my God, I've heard about you, but I've never met somebody. Like my world was blown open
Oh.
and I like I don't know, I had just come from like a very sheltered
Mm-hmm.
and specific. I grew up like going to private Catholic school
Yeah.
and um yeah, I just like my whole world got blown open. Um Not that hugely looking back because like it is a private like higher education school,
Right.
but like um
Like
yeah,
when
I
Justin was
was so
on,
like wide-eyed
yeah,
and I loved that.
nice. Yeah, when Justin was on, he was talking about just like the people. There's so many brilliant people around, different people, and
Yeah.
it's just that was the one aspect that he really enjoyed about being there.
Yeah, it was like something that was like awe-inspiring and also incredibly intimidating.
Yeah.
I've talked about this a little bit before of like I felt like leaving Stanford, I felt like I needed to do something to change the world or like something monumental.
Yeah.
And so like playing pro volleyball didn't feel like a legit choice. And it wasn't until later that I was like, oh, like just choosing to pursue something that makes you happy and makes you a better
Mm-hmm.
person is good enough for the world.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of the whole point, I think. Um, but yeah, the pressure of like being incredible at Stanford was very real.
Yeah. Well, and look at you now. You're leading a pro volleyball league in the U.S. There's
Yeah.
showing other people there's opportunities here, and that's
Yeah.
all good.
Yeah. I mean, I'm like very proud of my career, but like in not even knowing what pro looked like, I
Yeah.
was like, so I'm just gonna go live in Europe or what? Like, but yeah, this has been so cool. I had no idea
Yeah.
that this kind of opportunity was gonna ever exist, let alone within my playing career.
Yeah. And before we start talking about the pro career, you were also part of, I think you touched on it earlier, you were part of sort of the Team USA, and you guys did a Norseca tournament in South America,
Guatemala.
Guatemala, yes.
Yeah.
How was that experience?
um, I went on that trip with Molly. I think we were sophomores or juniors in high school, and we all got some bug that was it was like a 24-hour stomach bug, and it was brutal.
Oh no.
Yeah, it ripped through us. But I remember Jim Stone was the coach, and he like maybe won't like this comment, but I just like always saw him as the grandpa from Up. Like, like I loved him. And he was very like rah, 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 rah. um but yeah, I had so much besides being sick, like so much fun on that trip, and was so intimidated to play in like an
Yeah.
international setting. Um, but it was so fun. Just like I had so much fun. My parents came
Oh, no way.
and supported me. Yeah, like they started their journey of following me around the world. um, but that was just so cool to get to wear that jersey and like be with, especially now looking back, like be with so many incredible athletes. Yeah, it was really special.
And do you still remember that moment you got the jersey and saw your last name on it?
Yeah, I think honestly it was less about the last name, more about the flag. I was like,
Yeah.
whoa, this is crazy. Um, and like being on an international flight was very crazy to
Yeah.
me. And so we all like met in Texas to fly down to Guatemala. But yeah, I just remember being like, I don't think I'm supposed to be here. I don't think I'm allowed to be here.
And you touched on it earlier that you and Molly were on the same team. When Molly was on,
Yeah.
she talked about, she was so grateful that you were there, part of, her pro experience overseas. Where did you guys first meet?
We first met, we definitely were on that team in Guatemala together. I don't know if we met before that. I think we met before that though. Yeah, we did. Because we met in Tucson, Arizona for like just a summer high performance camp.
Yeah.
And Molly was like so good. Um, she was just always so fast and obviously like long and tall.
Yeah.
But and so like aggressive and focused. And I was just like, what? But
She
yeah,
was the
like
serious one?
she's always been the serious one. Yeah. But yeah, that was the first time we met and we were like instantly friends there.
Nice. And then after college, was pro a no-brainer? Was it always in the cards, or how did that sort of your first contract come together?
Definitely not a no-brainer. Agonized over it for a long time. Um, and my boyfriend in college told me, like, what are you doing? Like, you love this. Why would you not try? Like,
Right.
go like do what makes you happy all the time. And so I decided to try and like put all my eggs in and ended up and also like it was not as common to play pro, and it was more of like a word of mouth kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I emailed Cassie Lickman and I emailed Faluka, and I was like, what is an agent? How do I get one? Like, what do I do? And they both happen to have the same agent who I work with now, but and he's like very nice, but I just was like cold emailing people,
Yeah.
trying to like get some kind of contact. And because when you've never traveled before, you're just like, it feels like it's planets away. Like
Right.
you're like Europe feels like a different planet. And um yeah, so I ended up, he was like, okay, I'll work with you. And then like just I don't know what he did. I don't know. But ended up signing a contract in Switzerland, and it was the hardest year ever.
Oh,
I
really?
always tell people to play 2 years because your first year is so hard. No matter like if you go big pro or like a second league.
Yeah.
Like it's just hard. It's so different. It's so long. It's way more intense. And the level is usually higher than
Hmm.
what you've been playing. And yeah, you just, and like you have your rhythm is so different. Like you have hours alone
Right.
every day. And that is an adjustment going from college where you're never alone and you're booked like all day long.
Exactly. You're studying and then volleyball. Whereas over
Yeah,
there, volleyball, and then now you've got outside of practice. What do you do?
exactly. And then it becomes like if you have a bad practice, you go and sit and think about it for 4 hours. And then if you have a good practice, you're like, I'm on top of the world. Like,
But and you're also alone. You don't have friends and
exactly.
family like like
Yeah,
your college friends.
exactly. And like, I do think that like having time alone is really important, but it's not comfortable.
Right.
Like it's definitely an adjustment, especially like when you grow up in your family home with like your siblings, like you are never truly alone.
Yeah.
You go to college, same thing, and then you go pro and it's like crickets. Like
Yeah.
so it's really uncomfortable, but it's really good for you.
Yeah.
Um yeah. So like I don't know, you kind of like ruminate and see how like you actually sit with things and what your real opinion is. Um and like to also I think it's important to like leave where you're from and see something new
Hmm.
and like understand that people are people everywhere.
Yeah.
And um it just like pulled the veil back and I was like, oh, the world is big and scary, but also like I can do it.
Yeah.
Like these are people.
They live how you live,
Yeah,
is yeah.
yeah.
And being in Switzerland's not a bad first place to play pro. And I've talked
No,
to some players and they've
yeah,
been, yeah, just like
yeah.
kind of
I
sketchy
chose
some
to go,
places.
I chose to go from Palo Alto, California with zero money to living in Switzerland with zero money.
Uh,
So
well, and that brings up a good point. When people think of, oh, you're a pro athlete, pro volleyball player, it is not rainbows and
no,
unicorns.
no, I think also like I'm curious how it's going to go with athletes who have had NIL stuff. And then like you're going to go pro and okay, like the contracts in the US for the pro leagues are bigger than the European because lifestyle costs more
Right.
here.
Yeah.
But like I signed for 20 grand my first year.
Yeah.
Like it's a very different number that you're looking at. And these, I don't know, I have no idea how much kids are really
Yeah.
making in volleyball, but like it's possible that these kids are making less money playing pro than
Hmm.
they were playing in university. And that's like I think you find out what you really care about and
Yeah.
what makes you actually enjoy volleyball. Like I think a lot of people, it's the social aspect, like it's the connection with people. And I think,
Right.
like, yeah, I love that part, but I don't think I think it's harder to thrive overseas when you're like, maybe you don't speak the same
Hmm.
language as everybody,
Yeah.
or like only three people speak English or whatever. And you, like, the social aspect is definitely lessened
Yeah.
and it's just the game.
Yeah.
Like, you have to figure out if you really love this game.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's bunch of people I've talked to, they've talked about, like you were just saying, you may be the only athlete that's speaking English. I talked to Cole Hogland, who played at University of Hawaii. He's playing in Japan right now.
Uh,
Him and one other guy from Argentina. They're the only English speaking. The coach doesn't speak English. It's an
yeah,
adapt. It's tough. You're
that's a
alone.
different level. Asia is a different level.
Yeah.
But also, he's lucky because there used to only be one foreigner allowed in Japan.
Yeah.
So he's got at least one. But like, yeah, I've always had like teammates that are pretty able to speak English. And also, like, it's interesting. Like, I had to reckon with the fact that like I live somewhere else. Like I live in Germany and I'm here like hoping people speak English
Right.
and not learning German.
Yeah.
Like it's a lot of like looking in the mirror and being like, why should they? Like
Yeah.
you play in their league. But then at the same, okay, Germany's a bad example because so many Germans speak English. Like they speak better English than me. But um
Say
yeah,
Russia.
there's a lot of
Russia
like,
is like,
yeah. Or I played in Poland, for example, and like a lot of my team spoke English, or yeah, almost all of my team spoke like pretty good English. But I ended up learning a lot of Polish because I was the only foreigner for 4 months.
yeah,
And I was like, it's dumb if the whole table speaks English for me. Like, that's really nice of you guys. But kind of like, I don't know. I felt like kind of gross about it. I was like, I'll like try.
yeah.
Like, why not? I was very bad, but
But at least you tried, you know.
I appreciate the effort.
But I think that's something that's really different. You don't notice, here in the States, when you go overseas, Europe, everybody is really good with English as a second language. And
Yeah.
a lot
Or
of
third or
us,
fourth.
yeah, whereas
Yeah.
here, even Canada, back home in Canada, you're supposed to learn French, but not everybody's bilingual. But yeah,
Yeah.
we just assume and we sort of expect that people speak English, and it's not the
Yeah.
case.
I think with like so much American media permeating the world, like for sure. And also because like obviously English is an important language in business. And
Yeah.
so like, but I think it makes you a better human to go somewhere and be humbled and be like, I need help.
Yeah.
And to need other people, to have to ask for help. It makes you a better human.
Yeah.
And I think more people should have that experience.
Yep. I
And it's
agree.
also like a very beautiful experience to see how much help you get and how
Hmm.
much people take care of you when they owe you nothing.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
100%. Like, we did, years ago for our anniversary, we went over to Austria, Switzerland, Germany, and yeah, like people were eagerly, hell, oh,
Yeah.
hell, it's different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really want to go to Austria. I haven't been there yet.
Yeah. And, over the years you've been playing pro, what were some of the struggles, the challenging aspects of, besides being away from
Yeah.
family?
Um, I mean, not playing is hard. That happens. It's
Yeah.
really hard, especially because like you're overseas and you're like, why am I here? Like, what am I doing if I'm not going to play?
Yeah.
That part's hard. Um, Social media can be hard
Mm-hmm.
depending on which league you're in. The social media can be like pretty aggressive.
Yeah.
I think some stuff that's hard is like not getting paid.
Mm-hmm.
That's like a big girl problem. You're gonna be like, I'm not gonna practice if you don't pay me. Like,
So there would be like weeks where you wouldn't get your paycheck, or what's the?
yeah, normally teams are pretty strategic about it and they'll like wait until later in the season. So
Oh
you're
my
like
God.
bought into team culture and you care about the team and everything. They'll like usually what happens is teams will not usually, it doesn't happen all the time, but
Yeah.
like in my experience, they'll like pay you in the beginning of the season on time, and then as the season goes on, they'll like get later and later and
Oh
later.
my God.
But I have always gotten my money.
Yeah.
I've played for like teams that have always delivered on money, definitely late, like really late, but delivered, and like grateful that I've not had to deal with not getting paid at all, and that like my agents have been really helpful and good about that. So I haven't
Yeah.
had to do that alone. But like that part is hard. A lot. I know a good chunk of people that are like have had to go to court or just accept that they didn't get their money or whatever. And like different leagues have different rules
Yeah.
about like if they don't pay, then they can't play in the first league the next year or things like that. So that is really helpful, and I wish that every league had that rule.
Yeah.
Um, I think also like on a different note, the monotony of it can
Mm-hmm.
be really hard, just like over and over and over, especially in the middle of winter. And
Oh.
like you're playing the same teams for the second round, nothing's really new. Like you're tired of like your coach saying that one thing in every practice, and like, and it's like two practices a day, so you're hearing it all day long.
Mm-hmm.
Like that part can be hard. Um, yeah, I think those are the biggest challenges probably.
And you brought up social media. That is some aspect that people, with the norm, not that, you don't have a normal job, but the normal job people don't have, they're not in the spotlight. They're not being
Yeah.
critiqued by keyboard warriors. And that
Yeah.
has to have an impact on how do you cannot just block it all
Yeah.
out. And that's a
Yeah.
struggle.
You also like, you never look when you play well. You always look when you play badly.
Yeah.
um, and um, I don't know. I think like I think fan culture is a little bit strange.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you have to realize like they're not your friends and they don't know you. And if you're not serving their interests, like they
Yeah.
don't care. Um, and so like when things are good, like you can enjoy it, but also like you can't put value on that
Right.
because it will go away when you lose, when you play badly, when you change teams, like, and that's not all fans. Like a lot of like people on social media have been like very kind
Mm-hmm.
also, but like you need to keep some kind of distance and barrier because sometimes people say like outlandish stuff and
Yep.
it's like very hurtful. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not easy.
No.
And so on the flip side of that, what have been some of the fun things, some of the highlights of, playing pro volleyball over in Europe?
Oh. I mean, the people have been the best. Like I can't, my husband and I, we're already married, but we're having like the wedding celebration in Greece this May. And like, I'm just so excited to see all the people. And um, I don't know, like you develop like I've developed like this whole life,
Mm-hmm.
like not on my own, but like that's mine. Like I feel so proud of it.
Mm-hmm.
And um I mean the winning has been fun. Like I've been lucky enough to win a couple championships and like that has been so fun and it is so hard to do and so it's so rewarding.
Mm-hmm.
Um and like it bonds you in a way that nothing else does. Um I mean, seeing the world, I still haven't seen like a lot of Asia. I need to like, I want to get to that part of the world. I would really want to go to Africa. I went to Africa for the first time last summer. We went to Cairo.
Oh, cool.
So cool. And we want to go on safari for our honeymoon next summer.
Yeah.
But that's really expensive. But yeah, it's like given me the travel bug, like getting to play in all these different places and um yeah, I think the people are by far the best.
Nice.
Yeah.
And you talked about Asia. Is there from a pro standpoint, is there a country you'd like to go play in at this point, or you're just
Hmm. I would like to play in Turkey. I never got to Turkey.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, Asia doesn't really take setters. So, I mean, I would love to play in Japan, but like they're not going to take a setter.
Yeah.
I will not be the first. But I think Turkey would be my choice, or going back to Italy would be
Nice.
my if I could create my life.
All right. And speaking of Asia, this just triggered something. You were a stunt double, I think.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
This
How
is my
cool is
fun
that?
fact. It's very cool. It was also like very exhausting, and I realized like I never want to act, but because you just like sit around and then they move all the cameras and it takes forever, and then they're like, okay, go.
Yeah.
Like, um, but yeah, it was a very random, very cool thing that happened. Volleyball
Yeah.
gave me. Um, but they were making China, some Chinese production company was making a movie about their national team and about Jenny Lang Ping, who's like a famous player and
Mm-hmm.
coach for them. And she coached the American team in the Beijing Olympics. And it was a very big controversy because she is Chinese. And they were making the movie and it was about her and like their national team story.
Mm-hmm.
But they wanted to recreate like different games and plays from that Olympics. And so they like hired me to they hired like a group of Americans to set balls and like play balls. Logan Tom was there and they were like zooming in on Logan Tom and we
Yeah.
were just like blurry in the background setting. But yeah, it was a very random, cool thing that happened in my life.
Very cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, I never would have done it if my husband wasn't like, wait, what do you mean? And I was like, this is clearly a scam.
They're asking for my credit card info.
Exactly.
Oh,
I was
and
getting on the plane and I was like, I still don't know.
you're never going to see me again. Bye,
Yeah.
mom.
I was like, call me like tomorrow, make sure I answer.
Now, did you tell your parents that before or after you did? Like, hey, I'm home. Guess what I just did? Or
No, I definitely told him before. My parents would kill me.
yeah. And speaking of your husband, another aspect of being a pro volleyball player over in Europe, people don't understand is like having a spouse or having a significant other. How that works, it's not easy.
Yeah.
And he's playing pro volleyball in
Yeah.
Finland right now. You said,
Yeah, it's not easy. I mean, like, we are both huge volleyball nerds, and like, he's definitely made me a bigger volleyball nerd. It's not easy, but it also kind of felt like we had like a partner in it
yeah,
because we had like relatively the same schedule. And then we would get summers together, and so like get to be together for 3 or 4 months. Um, but it's hard, like the emotional ups and downs of the season are very hard.
yeah,
And like especially when your emotions are not matching, like someone's having a great season and somebody's playing terrible,
right,
like that is really hard. It just requires a lot of like effort and consistency and not a lot of like grand gestures or anything, but like a lot of like small moments of like I'm gonna pick up the phone
yeah.
every day and we're gonna like really talk. Um and yeah, I'm like very proud of our relationship and very happy to be with him.
Nice.
Yeah.
Who has the cleaner hands? Because you guys are both setters.
Oh, I think I have cleaner hands. He's definitely like way stronger and does like some flashy stuff that I can't do. But in terms of like pure hands, I think mine are a little better.
There we go. And now for those college kids that they're maybe thinking about going overseas to play volleyball, what advice do you have for them?
I would say do it
Yeah.
for sure. Like, and I think like it's okay if it's like the worst year ever. It's okay if it's best year ever. Like, just do it. And you're going to grow so much and so quickly. I would say do it and do it for 2 years.
Yeah.
Like, go back and I would say don't overpack. It's not worth it. Um, just like be open and try really hard and get an international phone plan
Mm-hmm.
before you go. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't want to ruin too much of it because
All
I
right.
think like going and not knowing is like part of it,
Yeah.
you know.
All right. And then, I see you were also played in the Athlete Unlimited
Yeah, yeah.
tournament. How was that experience?
That was a wild experience. Molly is actually like really involved with Athletes Unlimited. She played in every season. She's like one of the, I don't know what her title is, if she's like a founding member or
Yeah.
like whatever. Um, she's like heavily involved. And Cassie Lickman also, who played at Stanford. Um, and it was just so cool. Like it's a very wild format and
Mm-hmm.
it's like this
Because you're
really
not all on the
fast.
same team. You change teams,
No,
right?
you change teams every week and it's a draft. So, and there's like points assigned by every action that you do. And it's like very crazy. And I ended up like not really paying attention to the points because it was just like messing with my head. But if you just play well, like you get points. So
Yeah.
it's okay. And if you win, you get the most points. So just focus on winning. But there's a draft every week. The draft really fucks with your, oh, sorry. The draft will really mess
Hey,
with your
it's your
head.
podcast. There's no rules. It's your rules. That's it. It's all good.
You mean I could have been swearing this whole time?
You could, yeah. You don't have you don't have to have this perceived notion. Yeah, Maddie, she cursed. No, it's
I don't
your,
know who the audience is,
it's
but
yours. It's whoever tunes in, that's it. It's all
okay.
good.
But the draft is crazy, and then you have to deal with that, and then you have to like quickly turn around and play with different people every week, and it's like being a setter is crazy in that league.
Mm-hmm.
But it ended up being that like the once again like the people were just so cool and like so fun and we got to do like all these fun activities and whatever. And it was just like I got to reconnect with people that I hadn't seen in forever, or I had like met once and never really got to know. And then I got to meet all these people that I had never met before and meet like a lot of the younger athletes who I've never like had the chance to be around or really watch play. And because I watch a lot of volleyball, but there's like more and more all the time. So it's just like you can't keep up. But it's, yeah, it was really fun. And yeah, it was like a summer camp. I don't know how else to describe it. It's like this volleyball summer camp.
And you got to play at home in the United States.
Yeah,
So
that was cool. My parents came out to, because it was in Arizona. So my parents came out to Arizona. Um, yeah, there's like an independence that comes with just like knowing where, like, you know, the language, you know, how things work, and like you're not intimidated by things as much.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I can go do whatever I want, actually.
Yeah.
Remember.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. The comfort. Yeah.
And then after that, love, how did that all come together for you?
Yeah, that was a crazy story for me. I was playing in Italy with Kelsi. Kelsi's my roommate. She's upstairs.
Oh, okay.
And she had already signed, and like she's one of the founding athletes, and
And
like
Kelsi, who, by the way, just for those.
Kelsi Robinson Cook, yes.
Yep.
She's this up and coming player. She's gonna be great.
Did you hear that, Kelsi? You're gonna be great one day.
One day you'll be good, Kels. But she knew that she was gonna play in Love for like, I don't know how long ago she signed. But she kept saying like all year, she was like, I really want you to come. Like, I really think you should play in it. I think we should play together. Like, and I really wanted to stay in Europe. My husband's over there. Like, I had built a life. I had built like my name. And I felt like, I don't know, I felt like it was for people who like really wanted to play in the US and like didn't like playing overseas.
Yeah.
And I also like, I'm 30, like I'm not young, and I was like, I don't know, I want to like, I'll just like finish out my career here, and then like I like support the league and the idea in the US, whatever. But and then ended up like the market was going in like January, February, and I ended up just being like, oh, I think this is gonna be like a really good league, like seeing all the athletes who had signed. And I was like, huh, I don't think I want to miss out on this, actually. And then like talked with some of the people at Love, I don't know, like directors or whatever. And it ended up that like it was the most competitive league and the best offer.
Nice.
And I was like, I think the universe is trying to tell me something. I think like I'm supposed to go home. And I hadn't really realized like how much it had worn on my parents to fly overseas every year, because they visited every year, and like some years they would visit multiple times a year, and it's a hard trip. I get it. Like it's not easy. And they were like, seeing how excited and happy they were, I was like, oh, I definitely did the right thing. Like it's time to give back a little bit to my family and be here. And yeah, it like ended up, I kept like fighting it for a long time, and then ended up being like great decision.
Nice.
Yeah.
And what were those first few practices like, seeing so many familiar faces and just, being around friends again?
I think most of my practice I was just like gasping for air because Paolo, our coach, like can really work you, like especially setters. And yeah, it was just like so fun, and like I felt like a little kid because everything was so new being back in the US in a way. So that was super fun. And I really didn't know that many of my teammates. Like that I think we have 7 foreigners. And then within the Americans, I really didn't know anybody. I had met 2 of the girls, Kayla and Gia, at AU. And then I knew Kelsi, but like I didn't know Mac. Who else is American? I'm trying to think of the Americans on our team. I didn't know Danielle. I had like operated around her but didn't
Yeah.
know her. Same thing with Tess, like, and yeah, it was a lot of like getting to know each other in between gasping for air. I would describe that as our first practices.
Nice. And now, what's the locker room like? Do you have any young like people that are just out of college and you guys are talking
Yes.
war stories about being pro over in Europe? Like you guys don't
That's
know how good you have it.
that's like exactly what's happening. Oh, we have Rachel Fairbanks and we have Oni. And Oni's so funny. And like my husband always says you need a young kid on the team that's just like goofy and funny and like says crazy things. And that is her. Like, and she just brings so much life to us. Rachel is less like goofy, funny, silly. Like she's
Hmm.
very like calculate, like trying to understand things and like more reserved.
Hmm.
But Oni is so funny. And yeah, it's great hanging out with her. And she makes I have another teammate, Magda. She's I think she holds the record for blocks in NCAA history. She's
Hmm.
pretty good. But she's like pretty quiet. She's
Yeah.
very like soft spoken and quiet. Oni makes her laugh. Like she does not stop laughing the whole practice because of Oni. Yeah. It's
Oh,
great. Brings like a life
yeah.
to the team. Yeah.
And how are the fans? Are they into it? Like, does it just feel
Yeah.
like you're home and like it's just a good feeling?
It is like bizarre to see, like to have fans and like be able to engage with them for me
Hmm.
because like I've been in different countries and you can't really talk very well. Like I get really nervous if I try to
Yeah.
speak another language. And so like especially with people that I don't know and it's really fast interaction and I just feel like I mess it up every time. But like when you can speak to them and like
Hmm.
obviously the same language, that's been really special. Um, and then like I've had so many family and friends come to games. I had my dad organized family reunion
Hmm.
one weekend. I had like 80 people in the stands one
Oh
day.
my God.
And then last weekend in Houston, I had like 30. And I've had like friends, my friend flew across the country from Seattle to come to a weekend. Like it's just been so humbling
Yeah.
and like beautiful and like I feel very loved and special and um yeah, it has definitely made me emotional a bunch this season just seeing like how excited
Hmm.
my friends and family and like in general volleyball fans are for the league
Yeah.
and like there's such an appetite for it and yeah, I'm just excited to see it as it grows.
Now,
Yeah.
something we talked about is that the league started sort of January, its first season, and it goes till probably what, April or May.
I think April 13th, 14th is the
Yeah.
finals.
So what happens next season? Will it start in the same time, or will it try to mirror what's in Europe? Because you're not going to go play in Europe for four
Yeah,
months.
yeah. Um I think they're gonna move it up a little bit. We started around November, I think it was November 11th.
Yeah.
Um I think I don't know because I don't think they're gonna add teams
Hmm.
because they want to make sure that they get everything right for the teams that already exist and
Yeah.
then eventually they'll add teams and like it will expand and then the season will like organically be longer.
Yeah. But you don't want
But
to
I
step
do
on
think
college season, though. I can't imagine.
I think like maybe that and also like we're gonna play Salt Lake 4 times plus the tournament. So like it's a lot of times to play the same team.
Yes.
So I don't know how much longer they can make the season with 6 teams, but I think
Right.
as they add teams, it'll get longer.
Yeah.
But also like part of the appeal for specifically national team players is that they get a break
Hmm.
because when they play the European or whatever circuit, like
Yeah.
they never stop. And I don't know how they do that. You're gonna have to do a different podcast with the national team to figure that out. But like they never stop. And so that is like one of the big appeals of this league is that it's a little bit shorter. But I expect ultimately it'll end up being like a little bit shorter
Hmm.
than European leagues, but not like it is now.
Yeah.
Because now, although it feels like it's been a year, like a whole year, it's in my opinion, it's a little bit too short.
Yeah. All right. And now, you know, on game day, do you have any pregame rituals that you do? Do you need to have a nap, a certain meal?
Yep. I need to like close my eyes. I don't know if I'll actually sleep
Hmm.
every time, but I need to like close my eyes at some point. Um, I definitely don't need to have a certain meal that goes out the window quick when you play abroad. Um, and I don't know, it depends. Like if I'm super excited, I'll like play calmer music and stuff because I need to like calm down.
Hmm.
If I'm like don't want to play, like when you play a lot of games, sometimes you're just like, I don't want to play this game. Um, then I'll like go the other way and
Yeah.
listen to like more hype stuff. But yeah, I don't know. You kind of have to. I don't think having superstitions is a great
Yeah.
idea. Or like you can have a superstition until it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And then you gotta like let it go.
All right.
Because whatever, like you're like lucky sports bar, whatever is gonna fall apart at some point. You're gonna
Hmm.
forget it. I don't want to be thinking about that. I'd rather think about like tactic and
Yeah.
stuff.
And you know, when you're playing, if you have a couple of bad plays, what is your thing to reset? How do you refocus?
Trying to get out of my head and think about like, especially because I'm a setter, like thinking about tactic or thinking about like what are they doing?
Hmm.
Like trying to get out of my own head and into the game instead is helpful. Um, Timeout is always helpful. um, or like for myself, like if I can make one dig, I feel like I'm in the game. Like if I can defend a ball,
Yeah.
I feel like I have a pulse on the game. And so then I just like try to put a lot of focus into defense. Um, and sometimes you just gotta fake it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you feel terrible, you feel like you're doubling every ball, you've made every wrong choice, and you just have to fake it and like give to your teammates, and like maybe they can get you through
Right.
it. But you're like the reality is sometimes you're just not gonna feel good on the court.
Yeah.
And that's really hard, but to be able to play through that like makes you tough and makes you like a good teammate
Hmm.
and somebody who's like reliable because you're gonna feel like this,
Yeah.
but everybody can't see that.
No, that's true. And speaking of a timeout, you know, who on the team, I already think I know the answer, but who on the team is going to crack that joke or crack that tension during those timeouts when you know, a moment needs to be happen?
We have a couple of suspects on our team. Oni, obviously. Um, D might say something funny. Mac might say something funny every once in a while. I think I make Mac laugh more often and then she'll say something, but um, I definitely make some jokes. Um, yeah, I think those are maybe Iga. Actually, Iga might say something. Yeah.
All right. And over your volleyball career, who's been your sort of biggest influence in your development as a player, do you think?
I mean, when I was younger, like for sure, my mom and dad. Um, I think everybody like you steal so many things from your teammates, like as you go through and like
Yeah.
as you grow up. But I honestly think like through my pro career, Matt, my husband,
Yeah.
has influenced me a lot. Um, I never watched men's volleyball before, other than like at Stanford. And yeah, just like hearing him talk about the game so much and hearing about it from like a men's perspective has changed how I play and see things.
Yeah.
Um, Hearing like how men talk to each other during a practice or a game has made me like I'm pretty like positive and goofy and whatever, but like I can be I like there's a little bit of an edge that you get as you get older.
Hmm.
And um he's also shown me that like it's okay to be that way. It just means you're trying to win and like you don't have to be like the nicest person ever every day. Um but yeah, I think Matt for sure. I mean, he's like if we win, I call him. If we lose, I call him.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
yeah.
And you know, were you always a setter? You know, because your mom and your dad were, you
Mm,
know, coaching and whatnot. Did they
yeah.
sort of guide you into that setting role?
I definitely wasn't always a setter. Well, okay, I was always a setter, but I always did everything. So I was one of the first setters on the team because I just knew what the skill looked like.
Yeah.
and it's not like a natural skill. Like at least hitting a ball is like relatively natural
Right.
motion. And like defense, you just get hit, but setting is not like a natural skill.
Yeah.
Um, and so I started as a setter and then I played middle like briefly, very briefly. But I was always a hitter. Like in high school, I would hit on in four and in two because a lot of times like it would be a 6-2 kind of
Yeah.
situation. But that was one of the big like challenges in going to college. I was like, but I never get to hit. So like I never get to like there's like a release that comes with hitting, and setting is very like contained
Mm-hmm.
all the time. And that was a hard adjustment. I was like, I'm gonna explode. Like,
Yeah.
how do I deal with this?
Uh, yeah, I had Micah Christensen on. I share this one a lot. It's like when he was a hitter, he wanted to be a hitter. He didn't want to be a setter because when you go into a gym and you hit a
Yeah,
ball, you turn heads. You don't turn heads, when you walk into a gym as a setter. And that was he
yeah.
reluctantly went the path of a setter, but it's worked
It
out
went
well.
pretty well for him. I think he's
Yes.
a yeah. I've watched the documentary for quarterbacks
Mm-hmm.
on Netflix, and then I watched the wide receivers, and I was like, this is setters and hitters. Like it was crazy. Like watching quarterbacks, I was like, okay, obviously I don't like the NFL is a different level
Yes,
of
it's a different
pressure and
beast. Yes.
things, but like I relate so much to those guys. I've said things that they said. Like I know what like some of those feelings are like. And the wide receivers, I was like, oh my God, hitters.
Yeah. And right sides are even worse.
Oh, an opposite. Oh my God.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. And now,
Yeah.
what, for those kids or those kids, those players are looking to improve their game. What, especially the setters, setters, you need to
Mhm.
have a high volleyball IQ. Any
Yeah.
recommendations or suggestions on how they can get a better volleyball IQ?
I say watch good volleyball.
Yeah.
There's so much access to volleyball and like incredible international volleyball too. And like watch your position and see what they're doing and like what do you think you could do? What looks like you? Or like you could try it. Like it is a game. You should try, like have fun.
Yeah.
And I would also just say like as a setter, like you just need to play a lot. You gotta play a lot of mini games. Um, I personally think setting into a hoop is overrated, but that's just my opinion. Um, I think you should play a lot and like notice when you're having success and when you're not, and try to pick up on like what's working and what's not.
All right. And as a setter, what is your favorite? You just get the perfect pass and you
Mhm.
have all your right options. What is your favorite thing to set? Or is it like to do the setter dump and
Uh,
catch them off guard?
my favorite play that happens is when it's like a tight ball and I go up and
Hmm.
I just like let the ball go over, like I
Oh
don't
yeah.
touch it. I've only like successfully done that a few times in my life. Um, I feel like a dude because they do that. I'm like, yes. Uh, but for sure, my favorite's middle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Always has been, always will be.
Yeah. Now I don't know if you saw him. You probably have seen this somewhere. I saw a TikTok. I don't know, maybe 6 months ago. An Italian setter. She went up to set, and instead of doing a back set like this, she flipped her hands this way, and it was
Yeah.
so cool. I was like, oh, that's kind of ingenious.
Was it Maya Yanovich?
I don't know the name, but I was just like, my mind was
She,
blown because I've
yeah.
never seen that before.
Well, okay, if we're talking about Maya, she's like impossible to emulate because I'm pretty sure she's missing bones or tendons in her wrist. Like when she back sets,
Yeah.
her wrist like go like this, and then the ball like pops out
Oh
and
wow.
just sits. It's like it defies physics, and like playing against her and trying to block is like a
Oh
nightmare.
God.
Um, but she's like the master of the tight, especially back set,
Yeah.
because she'll set. I don't know why my camera is so zoomed in right now, but like she'll back set like
Oh, I've seen. Yeah, I've
this,
seen. Yeah, it's just it looks so unorthodox.
which like I watched that and was like, oh, I'm gonna try that. And so like I'll do it every once in a while. She's definitely like a master of it. She can do it like this, she can do it like this. Yeah, she's incredible.
Yeah. All right, fun question. So I had Eric
Okay.
Shoji on and asked him, what's the tough? Him and Taylor Adler have this thing. What's the toughest position in volleyball? So,
Okay.
Maddie,
Oh
what is
wow.
the toughest position?
Oh, I've had this conversation quite a few
It's
times.
an epic conversation.
Yeah. I mean, obviously I think it's setter. It's not that I think other positions aren't like equally challenging
Mm-hmm.
and stuff, but I just think that you ask the most of your setter every single day in
Yep.
practice. Um, I think like there are specific days that like being a middle is the worst, being a libero is the worst, whatever. But like in 9 years pro, I think being a setter by far requires the most
Yep.
every single day. Like, yeah,
You're
I'll
part of
just leave
every
it at
play,
that. Yeah.
and the you're chasing down a bad pass, your 6 rotations.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm.
I mean, there's so many things that go into setting,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody's got an opinion, and everyone is thinking about their performance, and every coach is thinking about the way they want it done.
Mm-hmm.
And like there's so many things that go into setting and choice making and the way you set a ball and all of this. And like for some reason, like setting is like coaches love to make setters their like project. And
Not just let them be and.
yeah, exactly. They love to be like, no, you're gonna do it this way because I have the idea that's
Uh,
gonna change everything. And that can be about technique or
yeah.
like game building or whatever. And sometimes that like works out great and you learn a lot. And sometimes you're like, this isn't me.
Right.
Like,
Yeah. I don't need to have my feet that way to get the ball where.
yeah,
Yeah. Absolutely.
yeah. And I would say like to younger kids, like try,
Mm-hmm.
always try, and then like steal what works and leave what doesn't.
Excellent advice. Yep.
Um, but yeah, I think it's a setter.
All right. And now the opposite side of this. So I had Christian Huron, who's the
Uh,
PME guy. He's the volleyball TikTok guy you see. When he was
okay.
with the Team USA doing the VNLs, he started asking, "What's the easiest position?"
Hmm.
So there's only two answers for this, really.
Hmm.
And fellow member, I had Vicky Savard on, who she's
Okay.
with Omaha. She's Team
Yeah.
Canada. She asked, she gave her answer, and she said
Hmm.
libero, and I said, oh, you know what? She said, has anybody ever said it's the hardest position? I said, yeah, Mason Briggs did. And she just laughed at him. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
he made a valid point. As a libero, you have one job to do. So he
Yeah.
kind of made a
That's
point.
true. It's true, but you also have one job. Well, the thing is, like, I would say libero, but I like the constant serve receive.
Mm-hmm.
Matt and I disagree about this a lot. I think like he says to be the best opposite in the world is one of the hardest things,
Yeah.
like one of the hardest positions to be the best at.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think there's a lot of average opposites. Like you get paid the most,
Mm-hmm.
you rarely have morning practice, you block and attack, you play 6 rotations internationally, but nobody expects you to be great at defense. If you are good at defense, it's such a bonus.
Yeah.
But I will say it's like hard on your shoulder because you have to hit a lot of balls and like a lot
Right.
of tough situations. It's not that I think it's an easy job. I would like to establish. I just think it's the easiest.
There we go. Yes, exactly. Oh, all right, Maddie. So away from volleyball, what are some things you like to do?
I like to read.
Mm-hmm.
Love to see my family, call my family, friends, husband. I don't know how much time I spend on FaceTime. Um, I like to be outside. Uh, yeah, I like to like I don't know, I spend so much time like getting back to like what is the word? Like settled.
Yeah.
I guess like trying to bring myself back down and like calm down. Um, but I love to like try new restaurants, try coffee shops. I'm just like not that interesting of a human
You
in
just
terms
enjoy
of
life.
activities. I'm just like a very basic person.
And what are some of the books? Any book recommendations?
Oh, I have so many. I think one I recommend to a lot of people is Americana,
Mm-hmm.
really cool book. Um, the Throne of Glass series, great series. What else is really good? Obviously Harry Potter.
Yes.
Um, I'm trying to think. What is the name of the book? On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. Um, that is a tearjerker. It's the author's like letter to his mom,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a book. Oof. This is amazing. Tuesdays with Maury. Yeah,
All right, there we
it's
go.
up there.
Well, hey, Maddie, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate
Of
it. But
course.
before I let you go, like with past guests, I look for you to recommend somebody in your volleyball circle that has a good story that we should get on.
Okay. Man or woman?
Hey, it is your rules. It's your podcast. So we'll go one of each.
Okay. Um, I'll recommend my husband
Okay.
because he's the best. I think Mac Adams has a really cool story.
All right. We'll get you to twist her arm.
Yeah. She's also supposed to do an interview for my husband, but it's taken a long time to schedule. So good luck.
All right.
Um, obviously, Kelsi has a really cool story. Like she could talk for days about all the
Well,
crazy
you
things
shout out
she's
there and let her
done.
know that Kelsi, you're getting
Yeah.
on a podcast.
Yeah. Um, I think Kalia Lanier is an interesting
Yeah.
interview. She's not foreign, she's American, but uh
Who does she play with, or where did she play?
she plays at Conegliano in Italy.
Oh, okay.
She played at USC for college. Carly Snyder is
Oh,
hilarious.
is she?
Yeah, she's super smart and really funny. I'm
All
just
right.
recommending my friends.
Hey, it's all good. We'll get them on. They'll be hating you.
Yeah,
Like, why did you do that? Come on.
no, everybody loves to talk about themselves.
Who's the worst?
Yeah.
Who's the one that just always talks about? No, we won't. No, we won't go down that. Won't make you pick anybody.
I'm just gonna say me.
Well, again, Maddie, thank you so much for doing this. It was
Of
wonderful to meet
course,
you, and I really appreciate you sharing your story.
of course. I love that you're spreading volleyball. Love it.
Hey, she's a beauty.